Hello, fifth grade families, kids. Hope you're doing well on this weekend. It's Sunday afternoon here. By the time I get this in, it might be later Sunday. Just want to send a quick update for what's going on this week and how things went this past week, just as our little keep people informed and let you know what's going on. So this should be pretty quick today, but here we go. Okay, so for August 31st, that's tomorrow, Monday, through the rest of the week, we've got a few just up-to-date things to talk about. So as far as things in class, we're making progress. We're getting into some routines, getting used to the way of moving carefully and being deliberate with the way we move the groups of kids around. And with working outside, we're doing pretty well with that. I had to have a little conversation earlier in the week, at the start of last week, to talk about, when we go outside. I know we're used to that being kind of recess or free time or just, take a book and relax time in the past, but this year we're encouraged to get out there as often as we can. So I kind of could tell maybe we weren't quite all seeing that on the same level when we got into our time on Monday, especially as we were getting into some division work, particularly in math. I'm trying to get the kids out as much as I can, which is easy to do, considering how close I am to the front lawn there. But we had to also kind of shift our mindset to think, this year when we get out to the front lawn and get out there, it's not just time to relax, it's time to achieve our learning goals while allowing us to get outside and get the mask off if we can spread apart and things like that. So just a little bit of an adjustment, learning on with that, and by the end of the week or the middle of the rest of the week, we were doing pretty good with that. So just having to understand when we go out, it's time to still be getting work done, just in that new environment, to again enjoy this nice weather while we can, so we can spread out and get the mask off for a time here and there. So that was doing pretty good. Also want to talk about backpacks. So with a few of the kids, I've gotten some emails from parents asking what can we do about these heavy backpacks, and I've kind of said we need to be smart about the way we choose what to take home. This past week I didn't give any homework. I don't believe Miss Cullen did either. When that's the case, you probably shouldn't be taking home a heavy backpack, because you're right, all those books pile up and stack up, and if you have every book for every subject to take home, it can get fairly heavy. So keep in mind as you're choosing at the end of the day what it is I'm going to take home or leave in my backpack. Think about, do I need this at home tonight? This week we are going to be starting homework, which you see is my last bullet point here. So there will be occasions where you need to take your science book home or whatever it might be, and you'll need those books, and you'll need to carry those around. Inevitably, every year there's a handful of students that decide to keep all their books in their bag at all times, which is a good strategy if you want to make sure you never forget anything. And I think that's the reason a lot of kids do that, because I'll never forget anything if I just always have it in my book bag. But the other side of that is you're going to have a fairly heavy book bag. So parents, if you're seeing kids coming home with all their books, ask them, do you need all these books in there? Did you have homework in math tonight, or did you have homework in science tonight that you would need the science book in there, and things like that? Okay, so it's a part of growing up and being a fifth grader, is that we do have more books for more classes because we switch and all these things, but it's also, we can learn to be a little tactical and strategic with our planning when we choose what to take home at night. So I've got a couple emails from parents. I just want to kind of reiterate that so everybody hears me say the same conversations I've had with the students. If you choose to keep everything in your backpack, that's your choice, but that will result in a heavy backpack, because the books do add up when we have all our 6 subjects and all the materials for those books. So let's work on being smart as we start homework this week. We will have some necessity for some books, but there will also be other subjects where you don't have homework that night. And again, you can just leave those books at home. It only takes a moment or two to think through and check your planner and see what it is you need to take home. And that way we can make those book bags as light as possible. Okay, so that's kind of a couple of big things I want to cover just in general. Let's talk now about some class subjects. So science, last week, as part of kind of getting outside and looking at things in our environment, whether in the classroom or outside, we did some work on just practicing making observations. So with science, we were working on kind of the basics, what it is to make observations using our senses. Not just sight, but sound can tell us a lot about the world around us, and that can help us lead to questions about why are things the way they are, and then lead to investigations, which is where we get into the crux of science and the big important stuff with science. We also learned about some of the branches of science, like we talked about some like ichthyology, the study of fish, and petrology, the study of rocks, and a whole bunch of other ones, just to kind of give us an idea of all the many kinds of science that we have. You might have a scientist, but that's actually a fairly vague description of a person, because usually they specialize in a certain area, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit this week coming up. This week we will get into the textbook lesson 1, which is what is science. So a lot of things we covered just in general to get ourselves back in the school mode and the thinking and observing mode will be covered in that lesson as well. So we'll definitely get into the textbook. It's a good introductory lesson, and we'll start up on that. Okay, with math, last week we were revisiting the long division process. That was kind of part of me getting the kids back used to being in school in that process, and some of us needed a little push or a little direction on how we perform that process, and then it came back to us, and some others were doing fine. A few others we needed a little extra help, but by the end of the week we're all pretty well back on track. The kids created their own word problems to go along with that, and we had a sort of a fun little Friday where we took those word problems. Here's an example of one of the classes here that had they wrote their problems out on a half sheet of paper with a illustration to go with it, and then we enjoyed a little time just on Friday as I shrunk them down and fit them onto one page. We had 8 problems per class. Here's the other classes that we were able to kind of get creative and make our own word problems to fit a division problem, which made it a little more fun than just the usual, here's 10 problems to solve them, or here's some word problems that are just the standard word problems. We had a chance to, again, kind of get creative with our math, so that was kind of fun. This week, I did get the textbooks in. The kids have been asking every day. Friday afternoon, I learned that the textbooks are here, and so I'm hoping to get those in the kids' hands on Monday. Before we actually start using those, however, I did plan out a few days ahead before I learned the books are here for work we can do outside the book to kind of connect some geometry concepts they covered at the end of last year with area and perimeter, and how we can use division skills and work on division a little bit more, and also on some of those geometry concepts. So it might be middle of this coming week before we actually crack into the book. But the books are here. I've been getting questions every day. I've been telling the kids I'm not hiding them in the closet. When they're here, you'll get them, and so they will get them Monday. But since I had already planned under the assumption they weren't going to be in yet, we will do a couple extra days of just some of the other things I planned out to carry us into that. So there's that. That's kind of math going on. Again, we had a fun week last week getting back into the swing of things. I could tell some great progress by the end of the week from where we started to the end of the week, as how we kind of getting used to just the routine of being in school and the routine of how we can work through some math problems and be doing a good job there. Okay. English, just the last little thing here. So with English, last week we were working on some sentence structure review, talking about subject and predicate, identifying those within sentences. We also talked about simple subject and simple predicate. We also, at the end of the week on Friday, began just a little pre-writing portion of a writing process introduction we're going to go through, which was also connected with our science work. So in science, we watched a video that was called If I Were an Animal, where we kind of just basically see how an animal lives from birth all the way through growing up to adulthood, just in quick little snippets. So I think we saw a cheetah, dragonflies and butterflies, and a fox and some others, just seeing examples of them. We kind of use it just to practice making observations. You know, what physical features do we see? What behaviors do we see? What environment they live in? What is their environment like? How can we describe that? Just to work on, again, observing, making observations. And with English, we actually connected that together, where on Friday we began a pre-writing procedure under the premise of, or the topic of, if I dreamed I was an animal. So we picked our favorite animal, and then what would happen in our dream, sort of working on sequencing, just some basic brainstorming. And this week we'll continue on with that. So with our block schedules, I've actually had a pretty good time kind of connecting together and integrating the classes in some ways. So for example, the math word problems we came up with, we worked on editing and creating the final copy, even though it was just a short, maybe 2 or 3 sentence word problem, you know, making sure we have capitals and periods and question mark at the end when we ask our question to find the answer through division. And some of the kids caught on that, oh, this is kind of like what we've been doing in English. Like, yeah, so when we're doing math and English all in one longer period with me all together, it was a chance to kind of work some things into other subject areas, and so we kind of did that with science and English as well, as we'll continue this week. So this week, yeah, we'll work through that writing process, hopefully get to a final draft by Wednesday. We'll work through rough draft, editing, revising, proofreading, work on all those key things to watch out for, and then hopefully by the end or middle of the week, we'll start getting to the structured textbook lessons, and that starts off with parts of speech and a few other things that we'll kind of get into, which I like about the textbook. Basically, it's every page you open to with those parts of speech lessons. It's 2 pages right in front of you. We'll take the notes. We'll work on the examples, and we'll do all the stuff we got to do. So that's what's coming up this week for the classes. That's about it for now. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and then we get a 5-day week ahead of us here that's followed up by a long weekend for Labor Day. So it's been a good couple weeks so far, and let's keep it going. All right, I'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.